The basis of today's question is with regards to the duality of life and the path of least resistance. And the reason why I frame it in that way is a few weeks ago, somebody that brought laughter and joy to millions of people passed away, in a set of circumstances seemingly that to him he was taking the path of least resistance. And I'm wondering whether you're able to tap into that, which is Robin Williams, to help us understand his now perspective.
We want to talk about the path of least resistance, and we want to talk about it in the way that you're asking. It's not in the way you think you're asking, but it is in the way that you're asking. And you're really going to like this. It's going to put a whole lot of things in order for a whole lot of you. So just relax and hear this. So you followed us already that you are source energy in physical bodies. Did you? So, and do you believe it? Well, whether you do or not, it's the way that it is, so deal with it. So you are source energy. In other words, there is an extraordinary path. You had intention when you made the decision to come forth into this physical body. Very, very strong intentions. That's a path. And when you find thoughts and vibrations that resonate with that path, you feel the flow. When you get crossways of it, you don't. So here you are in your physical bodies, sometimes feeling positive emotion on your path, sometimes feeling negative emotion, resistance to your path. But that path is powerful. So now, here you are, exploring just like you knew you would, sifting through the variety of your life experience, launching rockets of desire, and adding to the path. Source right there with you, flowing the path, flowing the path, flowing the path, flowing the path. Well, the longer you live, and the more you ask, and the more you sift and sort, and the more you know what you don't want, the more you define that path. And your source energy understands that path, more than understands it, becomes it, is this vibrational frequency, this path, this point of attraction. So now let's talk about law of attraction. And let's talk about the vibration of the source within you. Can you feel the path? Can you feel the calling of all of that? Can you feel the current? Can you feel the flow of all of that? When you get resistant to that flow, when you know what you don't want, you launch more rockets about what you do want. And so sometimes you launch so many rockets about what you do want, so many that the current gets very, very strong. And then the path of least resistance simply is, go there. Ideally, when you are here in this physical body, see what we want to talk to you about all day, every day. We want you to acknowledge that part of who you are. And we want you to find resonance with that part of who you are. And there is nothing that is more exhilarating in all of the world, in all of your experience, than to be in a moment, allowing the fullness of who you are to flow. And this person that you speak of did that frequently. Didn't do it mostly, but did that frequently. Had found a way to get into that vibration, not really so different from what Esther is allowing here, where broader perspective is flowing. Well, the more you do that, the more you experience the clarity of standing in your wholeness, the more you cannot bear to not be standing in your wholeness. You see what we're getting at? Eventually, under all conditions, that will be your path of least resistance. And we don't think it's a very good idea for anybody else to try to define anybody else's path of least resistance, because you can't understand it. Right. A lot of you don't even understand your own. And when you see things like that, when you see someone making an exit before you would like them to, it feels to you like something has gone wrong, but it never ever has. It's always Source helping you to find who you really are. Getting on with the next and on with the next. We love you so much, but you are a little funny.
Me personally, or these people in general? I'll accept that either way.
You are funny about the way you view the totality of you. You're very short-sighted, you see. And that's why we spend many words, wanting to explain to you the wholeness of who you are, and asking you to emotionally do your best to tap into the wholeness of who you are. We cannot talk about law of attraction without talking about momentum. And when you understand momentum, when you feel the pull of that, in other words, there is a momentum. You are creating momentum through all of your life experience. There was momentum coming in, momentum of well-intention, momentum of well-being. So much momentum. And all that you've lived has caused you to add to that momentum. There's this natural momentum that is going to cause you to reemerge into non-physical. It's just the way that it is. It's momentum. It's the trajectory. It's who you are. You are eternal beings. You're so hung up on death, and there isn't even any of it. There isn't any of it. Esther has been freed from it because the worst thing she could possibly imagine happened. Keeps happening, actually. You keep croaking. Jerry made his reemergence into non-physical, and Esther could not find him because he was not where he usually was. She couldn't see him and hear him and smell him and taste him and touch him. She couldn't find him, but she wanted to. And eventually, she discovered that if she would look for him where he is instead of where he isn't, she could find him. And once she discovered where he is, a whole new understanding of this continuity of life opened up to her. Because she began to understand that, oh, they were traveling around in the bus together. He was in the back of the bus. She was in the front. She was in the front. He was in the back. In other words, they were doing their project. She was doing her thing. He was doing his thing. They patted each other on the head frequently. They had some meals together. They had some laughs together. But mostly they were in their own mind, doing their own thing. And occasionally having conversations about what they were doing, encouraging one another, but certainly not melded like they are now. And then one day, not too long after Jerry made his transition, she was complaining to him about how he took off and left her with so much to do. Now I'm doing my work and your work. I hope you're having a very good time. And she felt him laughing. She felt him really enjoying her impertinence. Oh yeah, laugh it up, dead guy. Go ahead, laugh it up. And then she began to feel a clarity in her editing process that she had never felt before, because she was addressing him where he is, not where he was. She was talking to him in real time, in current time. She was talking to him in this vibrational format. She was acknowledging that he was still vibrationally viable, and she was addressing him in that way. And then he poured into her mind, and she discovered his hand on the mouse. She could feel him editing with her. She could feel the things that he knew to do. She could feel his insight. She could feel his clarity. She could feel the part that he always brought to the project. She could feel him. And she never again missed him quite like she had before, because she now understood the continuity of life. No one ever goes anywhere. You just think they do, so you're not looking for them, so you can't find them no matter how many purses you look in for them. And then every now and again, you find a piece of them. You find something that makes you think about them in a way when you're not hurting, or when you're not mourning, or when you're not yearning. And then you realize that there is no leaving you ever. No one ever goes anywhere. You just tune to a frequency where you can't hear them. You just give them labels that aren't accurate. You just look at them in a way that doesn't allow you to feel the fullness of them. And then you miss not only them, you miss your connection with Source. You see what's going on? You all think that the continuity of life is this one's born and this one's born and this one's born, and you teach that one what you knew, and then you teach that one what you knew, and you teach that one what you knew, and except for things like buggies and whips and horseshoeing and stuff like that you're not doing so much anymore, you just keep trying to pass it on, pass it on, pass it on, and you all think that's the continuity of life, and it isn't. It's scanty and puny in comparison with what's really going on. What's really going on is everyone who was interested here, like Robin Williams, like Jerry, like all of them, everyone who was interested in what's going on, what was going on when they were there, is still interested in what's going on. Only now they have broader perspective. You think your ideas are your own. They are not. It's collective consciousness. You are the translator. You are the receiver. You are the receiver of that broader consciousness, you see. And so There is never a reason ever to mourn the loss of anyone, because no one is ever lost. You don't lose them. You just tune to a different frequency because you were used to looking at them in a different way. But when you have the good fortune of someone taking off, Esther has a friend who says, when Jerry didn't leave, that's her expression. You remember when Jerry didn't leave? Jerry didn't leave. When you have the good fortune of knowing that your loved one didn't leave, and you start feeling for what they think about right here and right now, infinite intelligence flowing to you and through you on all subjects all the time, you see. And that's what he would like you to know. I'm funnier than I have ever been, and some of my funny is going to come out of you. Funnier, more clever, more alive, happier,